Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR Lady. Welcome back. We are here in episode 4 of 5 talking about leading change with confidence. And we are about to jump in and talk about building resilient teams during transformation. But before that, welcome back, JC. How you doing?
Wendy, it's been a great day. I'm literally on a podcast with the only person who owns their name on like all of LinkedIn. I'm completely blown away by this. I didn't mean to give it away too much. Could we get it? Could we get the truth on that one? What's the truth?
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. Yeah. So welcome back to the show, Sayer Darling. And Sayer, I believe you're the only Sayer Darling on LinkedIn, correct?
That is correct.
That is awesome. So for folks that are looking for it, Sayer, Sayre, and then Darling, just how you think it would be spelled. So, hey, give us a little bit of information about your background and how you got to where you are today, teaching us about leading change with confidence.
Well, it's been quite a path, starting with a strong communications background. And one of the things that happened to me early in my career, way before I was at the pay grade to answer these questions, was a lot of leaders would just kind of informally ask me a question about, wow, I've got this big initiative to launch. I've got to go out to all of our members and try to build bridges again. How do I have that conversation? We're doing our very first layoff in an organization that has a strong entitlement culture, and we need to help them create a entrepreneurial culture. How do we do that? And so that's really where it started. I was asked about communications on conversations that people didn't know how to have. And I love communicating around change because that's when you really have people's attention.
Yeah, it really is, to be honest, because they're like, wait, how does this affect me? So let's dive in here. You know, during times of significant change, not just to the leadership team and the management team, but to the employees, how do we build resilient teams? Where do we start?
It's rather counterproductive. I'm going to read a quote here from the book, Future Ready Leadership, Strategies for the Fourth Industrial Revolution by Chris Grosskreutz, PhD. He says, as we head into the fourth industrial revolution, change is quickly becoming the driver of business versus something we manage. The challenge that the fourth industrial revolution brings isn't a lack of technology. It's our human ability to cope with, collaborate around, and lead others through this revolution, which quite frankly is very underemphasized in change management work today. So it's about, once again, having empathy. Make sure you're not leaving someone behind. Make sure they're emotionally calm and adaptable to the change that's happening, or take time to understand where they're coming from. Change communications is about the people side of change, and we have moved away from that since change management was developed in the mid-'80s.
The mid-'80s, that seems like forever ago.
I know.
Unfortunately, some companies are still using the same leadership model, right?
That's exactly right. Notice I referred to the 80s and didn't use the word 19 behind it.
You know what's funny about the mid-'80s, though, actually? There's many HR organizations that still use sexual harassment videos from 1984. With that being said, leaders who undergo executive coaching during organizational change, they experience a 25% increase in resilience, enabling them to better support their teams. And when we're talking about times of significant change, Wendy, I think you got a couple thoughts on that, right?
Oh, I absolutely do. But then I also have more questions for Sayer here, is just talking about, like leadership behaviors. So obviously, in order to build resilient teams, we have to make sure we have resilient managers and then resilient leaders above them if the managers themselves are not actually leaders. So during times of change, whether small changes or large changes, what are the key like leadership behaviors that we should be teaching or enforcing so that we could have positive results with the company?
Great question. Let's just take big change, because we're in big change and we're going to be in big change for quite a while right now. And first of all, we have to remember where we're coming from. We've come out of 5 years of COVID. We had to go back in the office rather unceremoniously. Everybody is experiencing one level of burnout or another, and we have tighter filters than ever in terms of what information we're going to allow into our brains. So it's very, very difficult to open people up to, guess what, more change. So when leaders themselves show up unrefreshed, exhausted, they've lost their edge, they've lost their confidence, they've lost their own heart in leading an organization, that makes it very difficult for anyone to warm up and really understand, so what's in this for me? What do you need out of me to make the change? What will the impact of the change be? And so why should I care? So leaders need to know the difference between business communications and conversations. Business communication is kind of like volleying a tennis ball. You ask me a question, I answer a question. You ask me a question, I answer a question. A conversation, however, which is what we are having here right now, builds connection. There's humor, there's laughter. Everybody gets their own time. We build on that and create a feeling, a body of knowledge that's greater than the sum of the parts. So leaders need to be able to connect. They need to ask the right questions, which is way beyond what they typically ask of employees. And they need to show they're all in and not just in name only. I often advocate that organizations create a job description and minimum requirements for all change sponsors so that change is done at the same intensity, the same way. You capture some best practices. Everyone knows what the cadence is going to be in a change project.
I love it. I love it so much. And I love that you even said the job description, because I'm huge on job descriptions and making sure everybody's job descriptions are updated at all time. Earlier on in my career, I wasn't like that. And then I learned, because I fell on my face and said, oh, we should probably do this and make sure it's crystal clear what everybody's roles and responsibilities are at every single point in their career. With that said, thanks for listening, everybody, to episode 4 of our 5-part series on leading change with confidence. Up next, in our final episode, we're going to cover measuring success. We're always looking for feedback on the program, so feel free to reach out at any time. Let us know what topics you want to hear about. Just email me, wendy@thehrlady.com. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.